You're listening to Mic Drop Moments, a podcast brought to you each week with me, your host, Sandra Garlick. During the podcast, I invite guests to share their amazing stories, knowledge and top tips, including their mic drop moments, especially for you. I also share my learning and inspiration about life, business growth and visibility. I'm delighted to bring the Mic Drop Moments podcast to you each week to inspire and motivate you to achieve. Enjoy the podcast and don't forget to leave a review. Mic Drop Moments is sponsored by Grow Radio. Grow Radio is an online radio station dedicated to bringing you a different podcast on the hour, every hour. I'm proud that Mic Drop Moments is played on Grow Radio every Tuesday at 3 p.m. and Friday at 8 a.m. and to be part of their podcasting community. If you want to listen to the station, explore their shows, check out many of the blogs to improve your podcasting skills, or get your podcast onto Grow Radio, head over to growradio.uk today. Welcome to Mic Drop Moments. Today I'm talking to you all about confidence. I recently spoke at an event and I spoke about confidence, and I wouldn't say it's my specialism, but I'm speaking to you today from personal experience and also sharing my learning about confidence. And I think one thing I've learned through the whole of my journey with confidence, and there's a debate here. Is everyone born confident? Because we're all born. It's the environment around us that changes things. Or are people some naturally born with a confident gene in their body? Who knows? And I'm not here to explore that. What I am here to say is that even the most confident people can have a crisis of confidence. And myself, yes, I've been there. I've had confident spells and I've had spells when my confidence has just literally melted away. And yes, before I stand up on stage and speak, I'm often have those little churning moments going in my stomach, and that the shakes of the hands and thinking, does anybody want to listen to what I've got to say? And the same with the podcast. I'm sitting here recording this podcast and thinking, well, do people really want to listen to what I've got to say about confidence? Well, I'm going to share it anyway. So here you go. So I do believe that we're all born confident, and that's just my personal position. And I think it's what happens to us on our journey from very young years and how that shapes us into being either a very confident individual or perhaps somebody that's lacking in confidence. And here's why I believe that. My mum was, and she's still alive, don't worry, she is in a care home, but she was a very glass half empty person. Although she instilled in me a certain confidence, I think it was after she realised that I was very, very insecure and lacked confidence. And as a very young child, and I'm probably thinking back to the age of 3 or 4, I've got very vivid memories of my childhood, and most of them are really happy ones. But I do remember going to a ballet class, and I remember my pink ballet shoes. And I remember those ballet classes really well. It was upstairs, it was a wooden floor with a window at the end, and the ballet teacher would call all the children to the front, and I would be sat there sitting on my mum's lap. I was willing myself to join in, but happy to watch everything that was going on. I was learning how to do ballet, but I wasn't actually doing it. I sat every lesson for every one of those 6 weeks on my mother's lap, and I didn't move despite her trying to get me to join in. And it wasn't the only time that I lacked confidence. And I wondered whether it was because we lived in an area where there were no children, a lot of elderly people, and every day my only playmate was my mother. And I remember sitting, looking out the window, willing for somebody to walk past the house so I got something interesting to see. And when I was 4 years old, we moved house to an estate which was a brand new estate, and there were lots of families with children, and I was frightened to go out and play. But I started school at 5, and that's where everything changed for me because the teachers instilled a confidence in me I didn't know I had. And that's when I started putting my hand up in class, volunteering to ring the bell, to write on the chalk blackboard, or get involved in anything. And it was the belief of a particular series of teachers that instilled that confidence in me. And at the same time, my mother was kept telling me I could be anything I wanted to be because I think she could see the change in me. So I often joke and say I'm the most introverted extrovert out there because I still am not very confident in certain situations. I still have that fear, but with practice and putting myself in situations where perhaps I wasn't confident initially, I get that confidence through doing it again and again. And I talk a lot about taking the first step because that first step, when we're doing something completely new in a different place with different people, is always going to be the hardest. We're always going to have that lack of confidence when we take that first step. But once we've taken it once, we can do it again. And that step becomes easier. Then we take the next step, which is again, maybe outside of our comfort zone where we lack confidence. But actually, after we've taken that second step, we can go back and we can take steps 1 and steps 2 again. It's just practice. I'm briefly interrupting this podcast to tell you about Woman Who Live and Awards Lunch on Friday the 9th of May. It's the 10th anniversary of the awards, so it's going to be a little bit special. It's a morning of personal development, business growth and networking, and an afternoon of inspiration and celebration, all in the beautiful marquee at Coombe Abbey Hotel. With over 200 tickets already sold, it's going to be an amazing event. If you're looking to get your product or service in front of my audience, I have some great sponsorship and partnership opportunities available, from adverts right the way through to sponsoring goodie bags and event decor. Interested? Visit womanwho.co.uk/events or get in touch for more information. Now back to the podcast. Now, my mum, I've talked about, and I did share when I did my keynote on this, she had a very negative perspective about everything I did in life. Everything was, what if you fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if somebody does this? What if somebody does that? What if you don't achieve it? What if the world falls down, basically? So everything I wanted to do in life was always from a negative perspective. So all that confidence I gained during my early years in infant and junior school was all wiped away again when I went to secondary school. We were all dressed exactly the same. We looked like clones. And everything I wanted to do, because obviously I was growing, I was exploring, I was pushing the boundaries, and everything I wanted to do, my mum would always say, what if? And then the whole negative piece would come. And I don't know whether it was an element of control or to stop me from getting into trouble. I did rebel, but actually I lost my confidence once again. And I think it took me a long time to get it back. I was always seeking that reassurance that things were going to be okay, but with it came a total lack of self-belief. And I think it stopped me from doing a lot of things and believing in myself and achieving, because I believed I was totally worthless throughout my secondary school years. And there were a couple of teachers that told me that too. So why shouldn't I believe them? And my confidence just melted away. I believe that you can gain confidence, you can lose it, but you can regain it back. And I think I'm proof of that and managed to do that. But when we do lack confidence and we are about to take that first step, we can go into what I call, and a lot of people call, that fight, flight, or freeze process. We can actually freeze on the spot and not know what to do at all. We can fight that lack of confidence and take that first step, or we can literally assume flight and disappear. And I have done that on occasions. I have gone to events and things and found myself in the ladies' toilet thinking I'll go out when the event started because I'll feel okay then. I haven't got to speak anyone. Not so much now, because I've developed tools and techniques that I use so that when I'm not feeling quite so confident, I can deploy those techniques and appear to be confident on the outside, even when I'm quaking in my boots, almost literally. So what we're looking at is when we feel the most confident. I used an analogy about riding your bike with stabilizers on. When we first learn to ride a bike, it might be a tricycle, and then we progress to the bike with stabilizers on. And then suddenly your parents say, we're taking the stabilizers off and you're going to ride the bike on your own. I did it with my boys. And you have your hand on that seat behind them and you're running along with them saying, go on, you can do it. But what happens is we focus on falling off. We focus on what happens when mum or dad lets go. And invariably, we do fall off. But we get back on and we try again. And that's what, as adults, we tend not to do. We have one bad experience and it knocks our confidence, and we feel so nervous about getting back up again, getting back on that bike. But soon, very soon, when you're riding that bike, you're not thinking about falling off. You're not thinking about pedaling. You're just thinking about where you're going. You're not even thinking about steering, because that becomes mechanical. You become confident in your ability to ride a bike. So that no longer becomes an issue and you just focus on the destination. And it's the same with anything else. We can develop, we can learn how to get that mechanical memory going so that when we step into situations, we automatically go into that zone of confidence. When I pick up a microphone to go on stage, sometimes I'm not so confident. It might be a new audience, a new venue, a new piece that I'm delivering, and I might feel quite nervous. But as soon as I perform my little routine, my little ritual, going to the ladies' loos, putting on my lipstick, putting on my perfume, putting the mic in my right hand, and then I feel confident. And it's a little short burst of routine that gives me that inner confidence. But confidence can also come from the words we use and tell ourselves inside, and they can give us that power to feel confident. And whether you believe in affirmations or just talking to yourself, telling yourself you are confident, you're capable, and you're ready to do whatever it is you're going to do, can have that positive effect. You often hear people use affirmations such as, I have everything I need within me. If I'm getting up to speak, I speak with clarity and strength, and people want to hear what I have to say. And it might be that you tell yourself you're worthy of being seen and being heard. But actually, by using those affirmations, it may be the thing that helps you take that first step. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone and stepping into your confident zone. There's possibly lots of things that you feel confident doing without even thinking about it. Think about what it is that you can do that you don't even have to think about. It comes naturally to you. Did you know that that could be somebody else's worst fear? And they may not have the confidence to do that. You might be able to help them on their journey. Think about those other things and think about flipping the script, changing your inner dialogue to something more positive. If I took those words that my mum said to me when I was younger, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if it all goes wrong? and change it and flip the script into, what if people take action or are inspired by what I have to say? What if I'm really good at that? What if everything I do is successful and takes me 1, 2, 3 steps forward? Because you can flip the script, you can reframe things. And I often say to myself, when I'm going to an event or speaking somewhere, I often say, well, actually, I can do this. Sandra, you've got this. Sandra, they really want to listen to what you've got to say. Sandra, if one person is inspired by one thing you say today, you've achieved. And by encouraging you to use the reframing and to talk in a positive way, it actually shifts that self-talk and we get that confidence. We don't even know where it's come from. But every time we take that first step, we're able to take that second step much easier. And then when you come back to do it again, it is easier because you've done it before. I also use the power of visualization to boost my confidence. I visualize something already happening. I visualize it already being a success, and I visualize the outcomes for the people I'm working with. That way, when I deliver it or I stand up on stage and deliver a keynote, I've already delivered it because I've already visualized the outcome. And therefore, it's not taking that first step because in my mind's eye, I can visualize having already taken it. So quite often when I'm going to speak somewhere, I'll rehearse it over and over again so that I feel confident, because then when I deliver it on stage, I've already done it. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have lack of confidence in certain situations, especially in personal situations, in social situations, and in things I'm trying out for the first time. But I'm learning to find that inner confidence again and again. And I believe that confidence grows with action, not waiting for things to happen. If we sit around waiting, we might miss out on those amazing opportunities. So I invite you to think about one small step that you could take today to step out with confidence. Maybe that's introducing yourself to somebody new at a networking event, or putting your hand up in a meeting, or maybe putting something out there on a social post online. Just one thing. You only have to do one thing. And once you've taken that first step, you'll never have to take that first step again. I hope you found today's podcast interesting. I shared my mic drop moments with you. That mic drop moment about not being confident as a child and not always being confident when I'm out and about. So sometimes when you see me on stage, when you listen to me on my podcast, and when you see me out and about, I may not be as confident as I appear. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next week. Thank you for listening to the Mic Drop Moments podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me next week for more inspiration, learning, and top tips. Want to work with me on your business growth and strategy, speaking, or simply growing your audience? Just get in touch. Visit womanwho.co.uk to find out how you can start your speaking and visibility journey, or even feature on a future podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's podcast. And if there are any topics you would like to hear, just get in touch with me, your host, Sandra Garlick.